This is Boxing Talk 8576. I want to speak on the Danny Garcia Keith Thurman fight. My assessment on the fight is I thought Keith Thurman, I thought it was 8-4. I thought Keith Thurman controlled the fight from the outside. I thought he came out with a fast pace because Danny Garcia has a hard time warming up, and he understood that. I just think Keith Thurman's game plan was overall was great. Now I'm gonna be a little critical because what I like knockouts. I like the fighter to put the finishing touches on the fight. So Keith Thurman didn't knock him out. I predicted Keith Thurman will probably stop him in round 10, and that did not materialize. And I thought Keith Thurman would come out a little bit different. I thought he would come out and touch Danny Garcia up from the outside, and round 6 start picking it up and trying to get Danny out of there because Danny has a hard time, finishing fights. In the last 3 rounds of the Zab Judah fight, Zab Judah was touching him up pretty good. Lamar Peterson was touching him up pretty good. Guerrero was touching him up pretty good. So he has a history of, in the closing rounds of, falling apart. So that's why I thought Keith Thurman would do. But he did the opposite. He came out strong, and he didn't finish as strong as I wanted him to finish. I wanted him to really put his foot on the canvas and just sit there in the pocket and exchange with Danny. I thought, even though Danny has great timing, but I thought by round 8, 9, and 10 and on, I thought Danny slowed down, and his timing wasn't. He didn't really time Keith Thurman in this fight anyway, but he timed him a couple times. He got some good counter punches in. But I thought Keith Thurman should have just planted his feet and just went for it, man. Just went for the knockout. But he didn't get it. But a lot of people are criticizing not Danny, but a lot of people are criticizing Keith Thurman for not getting a knockout. But Keith Thurman stayed true to what he does, true to his boxing style. He's a boxer puncher. He came out, he tried to punch him out in the first 3 rounds. He seen that, okay, this guy's pretty strong. He seen something. He seen something in the fight to where he just backed off and said, okay, let me box. So he played the boxing game, the boxing plan that he had true to his identity. He's a boxer puncher. He's not just a puncher. If he was just a puncher, then we would have seen a different fight. We would have seen him just trying to, go in there and do what he did in the first 3 rounds, on through the 12 rounds. But he obviously seen something, and a boxer puncher style is to figure out what to do, what style to use, and when to use it. And to me, Keith Thurman uses the boxer puncher style probably better than a lot of boxer punchers I've seen over the years. I've seen some boxer punchers over the years. Tito Trinidad, Oscar De La Hoya, Ray Leonard. Towards the end of his career, I've seen some boxer punchers, and I think Keith Thurman uses his boxer puncher style just right. He knows when to use punching and boxing. So that's what he did in this fight. And I think when he didn't knock Garcia out, people stopped really looking at the fact that he was actually outboxing this guy. He was still punching. He was still trying to go for the knockout because he was still loading up. And I thought he was loading up so much that his accuracy was off. But people stopped looking at the fight and they started looking at ways to say, oh, okay, Keith Thurman is not what I thought he was. But Keith Thurman is exactly what I think he is. He's a boxer puncher. Some people don't understand styles. And I think people just sat back and because he didn't knock him out, say, oh, man. And you got some people saying Danny Garcia won the fight. Come on, man. Danny Garcia didn't win the fight. Keith Thurman outpunched him. He outboxed him. Keith Thurman was doing landing uppercuts, landing right hands, landing left hooks, landing punches to the body. Danny Garcia did land some good body punches. I thought he caught Keith Thurman pretty good in I think round 8 or 9. He threw some pretty good jabs, but he didn't jab enough. The bottom line is Danny Garcia did not have the punch output needed to win the fight, and Keith Thurman had way more punch output than Danny Garcia. A lot of people say, well, Keith Thurman ran. I thought Keith Thurman did a little bit too much movement in the last 2 rounds. Those only 2 rounds where I thought he did a little bit too much movement. I wanted him just to go for it. Danny was tired. He probably was tired himself, but I just wanted him to just plant his feet and go for it. He didn't do that. That's the only criticism I have. Other than that, I have no criticism because he played to his identity. If you understand what his identity is, he played to it. So I thought overall it was a really good performance. It would have been a great performance if he would have knocked him out, if he would have stopped him, but he didn't do it. But people got to understand too, I rate Danny Garcia in the top 5 of welterweights. Some people do not give Danny his due as being the fighter that he is. I think Danny is a really, really good fighter because every big fight that he had, he won. He stepped up and he won the fight. So Danny Garcia has won his step up fights. So he is an elite fighter. Whether people think he got a gift with the Herrera fight, you know what I'm saying? Some people think he got it. I thought Herrera won that fight myself. I thought Danny Garcia got outboxed. I thought Danny Garcia wasn't throwing enough punches, similar to this fight. But this fight was more conclusive because Keith Thurman was landing those, you know what I'm saying, those hard power shots. But again, I rate Danny Garcia high. If you rate him high, then you look at it as Keith Thurman had a really good performance. If you rate Danny Garcia low, then you look at it as Keith Thurman didn't have a good performance because you looking at the fact that you think in your mind that Keith Thurman should have walked through him and knocked him out. I told people that was not going to happen. I told people Danny Garcia is he's strong mentally, he's strong physically, he can take a punch. Danny Garcia is a strong fighter mentally, physically. He has everything you need to be in the type of fight that he was in with Keith Thurman and to go the distance. But I just thought Keith Thurman will plant his feet more in this fight and get him up out of there, but he didn't. But you know what I'm saying? A lot of people see this is what I see, and I've been peeping this. I wanted to make my video after everybody made their video. Because it's a lot of people that are Errol Spence fans and Floyd Mayweather fans, and they did not pick Danny Garcia, but they wanted Danny Garcia to win because they didn't want Keith Thurman to have another heads and shoulders above Errol Spence. See, because they rate Errol Spence high, and they wanted Keith Thurman to be down there where Errol Spence is. Errol Spence is still a contender trying to be a champion. Now, he has a shot at Kell Brook to become a champion, and we'll see. But right now, Keith Thurman is the man of the welterweight division. He has 2 of the belts. He's a unified champion. You know, we haven't had a unified champion since Floyd Mayweather left. When Floyd Mayweather left, he was a unified champion. Now, Keith Thurman is a unified champion. You know, WBA, WBC. He's 2 belts away from being undisputed. So, what I would like to see from Keith Thurman next, first Danny. I would like to see Danny fight the winner of Sean Porter and Andre Berto. I believe that'd be a really good fight for Danny Garcia to come back on. And for Keith Thurman, I would like to see Keith Thurman fight Lamont Peterson. I like Lamont Peterson's style for Keith Thurman because Lamont Peterson likes to fight on the inside. And I really think Keith Thurman needs to work on his inside game. I want to see Keith Thurman start throwing shorter shots on the inside. I want him to go to training camp, bringing guys in there that's going to pressure him, and he has to learn how to throw shorter shots on the inside and learn how to turn guys so he can be better on the inside. You know, Keith Thurman is well-rounded. I just think him fighting on the inside is one of his weak points that he need to work on. And I think Lamont Peterson will be a good barometer for him to start moving towards fighting on the inside because Lamont Peterson going to go make him fight on the inside. First, Lamont Peterson is going to fight from the outside like he always do. Then when Lamont Peterson think you have weakened, he going to come to the inside. That's what he did on Khan. That's what he did on Garcia. That's what he usually does to fighters when he think they're weak. He started coming on the inside. But I picked Keith Thurman to win that fight. But that's a nice fight. That's a nice tough fight because Lamar Peterson is tough too. Lamar Peterson is tough mentally too. He's a really tough fighter, so that's a good fight. But people got to realize this too. Give Keith Thurman his credit. He beat 2 of the 5 top welterweights, in my opinion, back to back. Like back to back. He beat 2 of the 5 top welterweights back to back. Put that in perspective. When you think about that, and you think about the guys he beat in their prime, he didn't beat these guys when they got beat up or had wars or 30, 36, 37 years old, been in the game for 25. No, he beat guys that are in their prime And that was the best of them. He had the best Danny Garcia. He had the best Sean Porter. So my hands go off to Keith Thurman. I want Keith Thurman to keep up the work. I want Keith Thurman not to wait on the winner of Kell Brook and Earl Spence. I want Keith Thurman to take about a month and a half off, 2 months off, and start going towards his next fight. You know what I'm saying? Lamar Peterson don't have no fight. Lamar Peterson is out there. He can fight Lamar Peterson. That's a great fight. Let me know what you think. This is Boxing Talk 8576. I'm out.